An Indian Defense Ministry officially says the country's cabinet has approved a proposal to buy 10 American C-17 military aircrafts for more than $4 billion, which is the largest defense deal between the two nations. The official, who could not be named because he wasn't authorized to discuss the subject, said the deal requires the aircraft maker Boeing code to invest 30% of the $4 billion in defense-related industries in India. The news comes after Boeing and another American defense manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, were rejected for a multi-billion-dollar contract to supply fighter jets to the Indian Air Force. India is expected to spend $80 billion over the next decade to upgrade its military. The agreement still must be signed by both countries.
China's defense minister sought to reassure Asia-Pacific neighbors on weekend that his country's growing economic and military power were not a threat, as long-running maritime disputes in the region flared up again. General Liang Guanglai told the annual Shangri-La Security Conference in Singapore that the modernization of the People's Liberation Army was in line with the country's economic growth and to meet its security requirements. He said China did not intend to threaten any country with the modernization of our military force. He knew many people tended to believe that with the wealth of China's economy, China would be also a military threat. China will beef up its military budget by 12.7% this year. The government announced in March a return to double-digit spending increases that stirred unease in the region as well as in the United States, which has long had a strong presence in the Asia-Pacific region. China's growing military influence has coincided with a more assertive diplomatic tone, evident in roles with Japan and Southeast Asia over disputed islands, and in roles with Washington over trade, the yuan currency, and this week over cybersecurity after Google said email accounts had been hacked in an attack that appeared to originate from China. But Liang said the situation in the South China Sea, where a territorial dispute with Vietnam and the Philippines heated up last month, was now stable. China is committed to maintaining peace and stability in the South China Sea, he said, adding it stood by a 2002 Code of Conduct signed with members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to resolve peacefully the rival claims over the resource-rich region's Spratly Islands.
Young Vietnamese, spurred by calls on Facebook and other social media, marched through Hanoi to protest China's recent actions in disputed territories in the South China Sea. Holding signs that read "Stop Chinese Invasion of Vietnam Lands" and singing the national anthem, a crowd of mostly Vietnamese college students recently demonstrated on Hanoi's streets after police blocked their path to the Chinese embassy. The protests announced on Facebook, blogs and chat forums highlight the growing tensions in the South China Sea as Vietnam, the Philippines and China are unable to agree on renewing joint exploration in the disputed area. For the Vietnamese demonstrators, it was an unusual public opportunity to engage politically. Most said they heard about the protests on Facebook, which is routinely blocked in Vietnam. The marchers were often flanked by security police. Vietnam's Ministry of Foreign Affairs last week formally protested a recent incident in which Chinese naval ships threatened Vietnamese fishermen with weapons in the areas of the Spratly Islands. Vietnam also protested Chinese ships cutting survey cables off a boat operated by Vietnam Oil and Gas Group, or Petro Vietnam, last month. A 21-year-old university student told reporters that if China is allowed to continue its bullying behavior, it will upset world peace. He added that this dispute needs to be solved through foreign affairs channels, not with Chinese boats provoking them.
Passengers returning from 11 European countries should undergo immediate medical treatment if they develop acute diarrhea containing blood or acute renal failure, as if they could be infected with E. coli type 0104, which is spreading across Europe, the Public Health Ministry said yesterday. The Disease Control Department insisted, however, that to date there had been no reported Thai cases of people having been infected with the new strain. Public Health Minister Jurin Laksanavisit said he had instructed the ministry's officials to prepare measures to cope with any local outbreak of the disease. The ministry has already come up with 4 measures aimed at surveillance and the prevention of an outbreak. It would distribute leaflets to explain self-care and prevention for passengers returning from 11 European countries, particularly from Germany. Those who develop acute diarrhea containing blood or acute kidney failure within a week of returning from Europe should receive an immediate blood transfusion, as type 0104 bacteria destroy the body's blood platelets. The Public Health Ministry has decided not to set up checkpoints at Suvarnabhumi Airport to screen for passengers who might be carrying the infection, deeming that the introduction of such a strict measure would adversely affect international relations.
More government revenue will come from value-added tax and excise tax in the future, Sathit Prangkhasiri, Director General of the Revenue Department, suggested yesterday. Sathit said the department has several proposals for tax reform that would be presented to the new government after the July 3rd general election. He refused to comment directly on politicians' campaign promises of tax cuts. He simply said that it now was common practice for countries to collect more indirect taxes, such as VAT and excise taxes, as these are difficult to evade. At the same time, they are reducing corporate income tax rates to attract investment. Sathit said tax receipts in the current fiscal year are on the rise. Tax revenue collected by the department in the first 8 months of the fiscal year rose 21% year-on-year and came in 16% above target. Tax receipts rose across the board, especially income from corporate income tax, which increased 34%, well above target. He said that a sustained economic recovery and efficient tax collection contributed to rising government revenue. He added many tax breaks had been offered to individuals, such as recent deductions for tourism expenses and donations to victims of natural disasters. Because of large tax incentive, individuals whose monthly income is not over to 20,000 baht need not pay personal income tax currently. More tax incentives proposed by politicians will result in less tax payment by individuals who have the ability to pay. If the new government wants to restructure taxes, it will take time because of the long legislative procedure. However, minor fixes such as giving new tax incentives could be implemented more quickly.
5 business groups have joined hands to be key players in the establishment of Plunchit City, a luxury landmark of Bangkok, by 2016, putting up in about half of the total investment of about $100 billion. The 5 groups in the partnership are Central Retail Corporation, CRC, Bank of Ayutthaya, Noble Development, Univentures, and Swiss Hotel Nilert Park. They will focus on their strengths to set up luxury hotels, residential projects, office buildings, and retail services. The project aims to increase traffic in the area from an average of 50,000 people per day, currently to 200,000 per day in 2016, with estimated annual spending of 10 billion baht. Plunchit City will become a new central business district with growth expected to be higher than Silom, Ratchaprasong, and Pathumwan. Chat Jirathiwat, Managing Director of the Central Embassy Project, which is being developed by CRC, said the 5 groups would invest 150 million baht to 200 million baht each to create a connection path or skywalk with a unique sign, as well as develop landscapes under the green concept. The Plunket City project will extend from Plunket intersection to Wireless Road and from the junction to Sukhumvit Soi 1, with investment around the area is expected to exceed 100 billion baht, including luxury hotels, condominium projects, and office buildings, according to a survey.
Oil falls below $100 and Apple unveiled iCloud. More details after the break.